Hey, I'm back with another video. Today I want to talk about the downfall of Deepwoken, and my personal opinion on what necessarily is making it lose its touch on the heart of the players, what mistakes the developers are making to contribute to the game, and overall why the game feels so dry. Let's get into it. Okay, let's get one thing straight here. Deepwoken is not the same game that it started out to be, nor did the developers stick to the game route that they wanted to take. I'll be honest, when I heard there was a Battle Royale game mode, I knew the game was doomed. This path they're taking with the player suggested content and leading towards a more, I'd say, marketing strategy, and not sticking to its original game aesthetic is not good for the look of the game. When players like a game, they want the game to have content that fits its main idea. Deepwoken started off as a medieval fantasy-like game, and ended up as a Star Wars anime reference grindy bandit beater with damage scaling numbers that don't even make sense. In fact, on the topic of that, most of its players derived from Roblox anime games such as Grand Peace Online, Blox Fruits, Your Bizarre Adventure, games that don't fit Deepwoken's aesthetic at all. And I think to myself, why do they do this? Have they lost their special touch with making such a unique game? Lost their motivation because of the moderator controversy and things along the lines of that? For me, I think it's the players wanting the game to be a repeat of every anime referenced game on Roblox. Wanting a less difficult game where you can pay to win and not put in the hard work and effort for exploration and progress. Listening to community suggestions is by far one of the worst mistakes a developer could ever make. Why would you listen to your community suggestions and completely derive the game of its creativity? That's like being gaslit into thinking people can read your mind and know exactly what to do for the game, when in reality, people are just selfish and want to make your game accustomed to what they want. No. Stick to your creative process. And don't take away the game's uniqueness just because a dozen 12-year-olds are fuming behind their computer, complaining in your Discord general chat to quote-unquote fix the game. People say playing a game when it stays down the same path, and the developers make the right choices to keep the dream and original plan for the game going. I believe if they want to keep working on Deepwoken, they should stop listening to their current community. Give the game its love and creativity again. Stop worrying about why the player numbers are going down. Worry about how you can fix it and bring the game back to the hardcore exploration game that it once was. Reason 2 is gameplay. Now, this sort of stems off the aesthetic mistakes that the game is making, but I could say one singular thing and everyone will understand what I mean by it. Dry and dumb updates. And before you go into the comments typing, well, okay YouTuber, what if they're giving players new content as fill-in for a main big update the developers are working on, just as they did for Verse 2? I am well aware of that possibility. I admit, Fade Trimmer was a funny idea, and made me think of possible builds. Perhaps they do need more time to make some adjustments to the combat and progression, and that's why they're pushing out all these small updates, so they can assure that the next main update they're pushing out will be balanced to the way they want the gameplay to work. But who in their right mind thought the St. J talent card was a balanced idea for Frostdraw, and thought it was okay to make Warning Radiance and Inhale stack to do 20% damage per M1 in the someone's health bar? I won't get too into the balancing side of Deepwoken's gameplay, but everyone can agree with me that the builds people make in this godforsaken game is absolutely disgusting, and I definitely see why they're making these small updates to balance out combat. However, on the more PvE side of things, this is where things get pretty disappointing. I'm sitting here thinking back to the first time I played Deepwoken and I saw a Megalodon. I was running for my life thinking I would never survive this thing if it came after me. But after a while, you learn that all you need to do is make a Hive Lord's Hubris or Evan Spear or Enforcer's Axe build with 80 willpower for Heretic Sutra and Ardor Scream to just two-shot the goddamn thing. Yes, you have to venture out for these sort of things and get the requirements needed for your build, but after a while, the game becomes tedious and too easy for the player, and eventually, they want to stop playing because it's a repeat of the same thing over and over. Some mobs are supposed to be more difficult than others. I understand that. but I shouldn't be able to stand still in a hardcore permadeath game, just clicking my mouse a few times to kill 90 different mobs and eventually get a legendary weapon that makes it even easier for me to click my mouse a few times and kill 90 different mobs again. Maybe it has to do with limits to Roblox's platform and scripting ability. I've heard that the scripting language Roblox is compatible with, which is Lua, isn't something a lot of scripters are proficient and fluent in for the reason that it isn't too detailed compared to things like JavaScript. So there could be some limitations in this ability to make the game's combat more than decent. But for me, as a semi-veteran player, I personally am disappointed with the way they altered the combat system. Now, as a little end note, even though it goes against what I said about the developers listening to the community way too much, I would like to present to you an idea I've had for the mantra aspect of the game's combat system, and that is mantra weapon alteration, which in short description essentially means that mantras would act differently depending on what weapon you have. Has Fireblade ever seemed weird to use with a weapon that's main damage point isn't a blade? Like a flintlock or a revolver in this case? To me, it just seems wrong. Wouldn't it be cooler or make more sense if Fireblade had an alternative form where you shoot a bullet engulfed with fire into the air and it turns into a sword of fire you catch in your hand, then you slash your opponents down with said blade of fire? I believe things like that would make more sense and give more variety to builds throughout Deepwoken. It wouldn't be fun if all mantras acted the same with every weapon, nor would it make sense. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed what you heard and saw in this video, consider subscribing and leaving a like on this video, as it helps me out a lot and lets me know if my viewers enjoyed content such as this. I'm out of here. See you guys in the next one.